Words at War.
Citizens of Athens, attention! You will receive into your homes such of our officers as may be billeted upon you. You will put yourselves and your possessions at their disposal. You will obey their commands without question and treat them in all respects as your honored guests. Any attempt at insubordination will be met with imprisonment or death. By order of the Führer.
The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, presents another of the most significant programs on the air today, Words at War, dramatizing the most representative books to come out of this world conflict. Tonight, Glenway Westcott's absorbing novel of the German character, Apartment in Athens.
You mean to actually invite a German officer to come and live with us?
It is good policy, dear.
Is it possible for a Helianus to suggest such a thing?
But that's all the more reason, Zoe. The name Helianus is suspect already.
But Petrus and old Georgus will believe you've gone over to the enemy.
Perhaps they're sterner stuff than I am. Or perhaps they don't love their wives and children as much as I do.
Nicholas, our own little Alex has the spirit, too, and he's only 12.
Well?
Your cousins will have nothing but contempt for you. So will Alex when he's older.
They needn't know. This proclamation today forces any Greek family to take in German officers.
If we're forced to it, yes. But if you make a friendly gesture toward the enemy, everyone will know it, and we'll be in disgrace with our own people. Nicholas, I'd be so ashamed inviting one of these Nazi brutes into our home.
My dear, I know how you hate the Germans. I'm not exactly fond of them myself. But they're human, too.
Oh.
They need food and lodging. Why, Zoe, we could get 40 marks for the front room.
40 marks of inflation money, perhaps enough for a loaf of bread.
But, dear, don't you realize that our problem is one of sheer survival for the duration?
No.
We've used up all our resources. I have a wife and 2 children. What kind of a husband and father would I be if I didn't try by every possible means to see that you do survive?
But not at the cost of aiding the enemy, Nicholas.
Ah, nonsense. We'll serve Greece best by keeping alive until she's free.
Nicholas.
Now, you take the quartermaster corps in the next street. Those officers are an entirely different type, Zoe. They're businessmen, work long hours. Much better to choose one of them while we can than have one of the other type inflicted on us. You heard the proclamation. You know what's going to happen.
You always make things sound so reasonable, dear.
Well, dear, you're a woman. You think with your emotions. A man has to keep a clear head.
Oh, there's Alex exciting Lida again with those blood-curdling torture stories.
Don't you worry. They're like fairy tales to
Well,
Lida.
come and quiet them, Nicholas.
Alex is going to be rather a problem, I'm afraid.
Children? Children!
Mother, watch. We're playing a game.
Oh?
Here, put that cushion on the chair, Leda.
This one?
The soft, squashy one. I'll get Father's walking stick.
And why do you want my walking stick, Alex?
It's a bayonet, and the cushion is a German stomach.
What talk is this from our son?
Poor child, he's playing at war.
12, and already he knows so much.
I'm practicing, Mother.
He's practicing. Alex is practicing.
Alex, Lida, war isn't for children. You must think of it as a flood or an earthquake.
I am a Greek, Mother. You'll be proud when I kill my first German.
Nicholas, make Alex understand how dangerous this is. He's always dreaming and planning. Soon he'll try to make it come true, and the Germans will catch him, and then... Oh, heaven, haven't we suffered enough?
Children?
Yes, Father.
You may look at my big travel book on the top bookcase shelf.
Oh, Daddy.
Be careful of it, though.
Oh, thank you, Father. Let me get it. No, it's my turn this time. I want to get it first.
Poor little thing, so thin and white.
Malnutrition, of course. And the famine's getting worse. The quartermaster corps controls all the food in Athens, Zoe. They're sure to have special privileges. Perhaps if one of their officers lives here, if we treat him well, he might even give us...
If I could only get food for Alex and Lida.
Well, I'm going to see what can be done.
Nicholas Helianus, 45, former publisher of school books and scholarly treatises. Once prosperous and owned estate at Sihoko. Wife Zoe, 43, 2 children, Alex, 12, Lida, 7. Helianus himself has never taken part in active resistance, but Aha. His cousins, Petros and Georgios Helianos, are rebels fighting in the mountains. Anyone named Helianos is suspect. The rest is confidential. Not a good record.
If I may suggest, there is nothing against me personally.
That may be only because you have not been found out. We know that you Greeks stick together. However, there may be a certain advantage to the new order. If I were a member of your household, I would have you under my eye.
We're quiet, retiring people, sir. Struggling to survive under the present difficulties. We take part in no subversive activities.
That remains to be seen. I will inspect your apartment this afternoon. No, this single bed won't do. I need my rest.
My wife and I sleep on our only double bed, sir.
No argument. A good German knows how to sleep on the ground. Won't hurt a Greek to sleep on the floor. Move the double bed in here. Helianos, come here, get this brat out of the bathroom. And hereafter, this to be for my exclusive use. I shall dine here alone. No one else in this house is to eat until I have eaten. Here are 24 shirts, Mrs. Helianos. Wash and iron them perfectly. Or you will do them over again.
Nicholas, how outrageous.
Oh, now, dear, don't take it seriously. It's just the German love of order.
How can we sleep in the kitchen? Why must this captain have the sitting room as well as the bedroom?
He studies at night. And you know his eating alone is quite an advantage to us. He'll never notice how much we get of his food allotment. You're such a clever cook, dear.
I can't stand it if he orders me about the kitchen.
Let's not anticipate the worst. If we're tactful and do our best for him, he'll appreciate it.
How can you be so soft? Nicholas, you're a Greek gentleman, and this Nazi bully treats you like a servant.
Zoe, you're too overwrought. Please trust me. I shall wear him down with courtesy.
Help! Help!
Zoe, darling.
Help!
Zoe.
Oh, Nicholas.
I'm here, darling. Right beside you. Shall I turn on the light?
No. Let's lie here in the blessed darkness.
I'm worried about these nightmares of yours.
They're no worse than the nightmare we live by day.
Darling, I'll talk you to sleep again. We've had such delightful times in our lives. These memories should sustain us now that things are difficult. I remember once when you and I were walking in the royal gardens, just before we were married. How beautiful you were. The Greek statue come to life.
Nicholas, why did you even consider sharing our privacy with this Nazi officer?
And then there was another time when we wandered among the ruins of the Parthenon. I remarked, and I thought it rather good, too, that even the fragments of the classic age of Greece have a character and a quality we admire, but cannot equal today.
All of these Nazis are beasts, all of them.
Greece is a volume of history, and every stone is a page for the sensitive to read. Our very name has a poetical significance to other nations.
Nicholas, it's no use. Don't try.
So the old charm doesn't work anymore.
I will now inspect your icebox, Mrs. Helianos. Having the 3 onions, half a cup of olive oil, a cup of curd. Hey, did you try to hide this piece of cheese in the corner?
No, sir.
Put it on a plate in my room. Where's the bread?
There is no bread, Captain Calder.
When any food enters this house for myself or for you, I want it reported to me. For the next 2 hours, I want absolute silence.
There's your quartermaster, Nicholas.
Well, dear, quartermasters are bookkeepers, too. They like to check up on things. It's their habit of mind.
We were going to live on the leftovers. There aren't any. He knows exactly what goes into every dish, and I must account for every ounce. He's turned the table on us. I even have to account for our own food.
Careful, dear, dusting his desk. Don't disarrange the papers.
Oh, I've knocked over these photographs.
Zoe, are they damaged? The glass broken?
No, thank heavens.
Was that his wife?
Must be. And these boys in uniform, his sons.
At least I know he's human. I've seen him studying them. It isn't German. It isn't Greek. It's a man looking at someone he loves.
Elianos, come here. On your knees.
Captain,
Oh, no. I'm not going to kick you. Pull off my boots.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's better. See that you get a high polish on them. I want them standing outside my door in the morning. Is that understood?
He didn't leave a lick of soup.
Has he started on the chops yet, Father?
There were 3 big ones. Surely he won't eat them all.
Take him in this glass of wine, Alex. But just look. Don't say anything.
Yes, Father.
Mother, can't I taste the custard?
No, Rita. There's just enough for Captain Calder.
I'm so hungry.
You see, Nicholas, the child's ravenous and that brute in there gorging him.
Hush, hush. The child might repeat what you say.
She's too frightened even to speak to me.
Father, he's just eaten the inside of the chops. There's a lot left around the bones. He's lighting a cigar.
I'll go and bring back his plate.
Well?
Here's an ashtray, sir. Let me remove your plate.
Don't bother. I'll use the plate for an ashtray.
Nicholas, I can't stand it.
Zoe, it is dangerous to cross a German officer.
That brute has killed our son. If you don't go in, I will.
I'm going. Captain Calder.
Order that brat of yours to get up unless you want me to kick his brains out.
Alex, here. Here, I'll help you, son.
He knows the weight of my fist. Don't you sniveling little thief?
Yes, sir.
What has he done to displease you, Captain?
Last night I sent this little rat over to my friend with the 2 meat bones left over from my dinner. His dog enjoys these little delicacies. Only 1 bone arrived. The boy stole the other.
I didn't. I swear I didn't. I wanted to, but I was afraid to.
He lies again.
Go to your room, Alex. Please accept my apologies, Captain. My son is a growing boy and suffers from his appetite. If he's trusted with food, he'll steal it. He just can't help it. After this, please let me carry it to your friend's dog myself.
You Greeks are all thieves by nature. Only you happen to be intelligent enough to know you can't get away with it. I'll have this bread and cheese and take it to my friend with my compliments.
Yes, sir, immediately.
Alex is a nervous, cowardly boy. Corporal punishment's the only thing for him. I expect to see a marked improvement as the result of my living with you. You'll thank me for the trouble I take with him.
Yes, sir. If you'll excuse me now, sir.
How much longer? How can you stand this humiliation?
Be patient, dear. Be patient. It's better to be alive.
No decent man should stand it.
I will stand anything for you and the children. This was hard on Alex tonight, but it's no worse than the beatings plenty of boys have endured from their schoolmasters.
Look at that boy's ribs sticking out. Look at his thin, starved face and remember it when you're bowing and scraping to that devil in there.
We're better off than people in prisons and concentration camps.
How?
The captain is our protector from the greater cruelties. As long as we serve him, we're safe.
He's gone. Captain Calder's gone.
All right, children, now. Oh, Nicholas, just think 2 wonderful weeks.
Yes, my dears. The captain's off. Now watch the car turn the corner. He'll be on the plane for Germany in 20 minutes.
Maybe the English will shoot the plane down and then he'll never come back.
You better not count on that.
If he comes back, if he does, I'll get him out on the balcony and I'll trip him and he'll fall over the balustrade and hit the street squash.
I still can't believe he's gone.
Freedom takes a little time to get used to, dear.
We'll eat all the captain's food.
We won't have his allotment while he's away, dear.
Now, never you mind. A clever family like the Helianos knows how to have a good time somehow.
Oh, Nicholas, will we ever be happy again?
It's never too late for a little happiness. Did you have a comfortable trip, Captain Calder?
Yes. By the way, I'm Major Calder now.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Major.
No matter.
Will, one of our Greek stews suit you for dinner, Major?
I haven't any appetite. You better eat it yourselves.
What?
Don't go to any trouble for me.
But you all...
Yes, I was always particular about food and such, but perhaps I'm different now.
I put up fresh curtains in your bedroom, sir.
Very kind of you, Mrs. Arianos.
We'd like to please you, sir. If there's anything we can do.
Nothing matters now. You poor devils, I'm sorry for you, too. I'll be back late, but I'll try not to disturb you.
It's a trap. That's what it is, a trap.
Oh, come now, dear. When he was back in Germany, he remembered all we'd done for him and decided to be pleasant. Fortunately for us, he's a changed man.
Changed? He's a German.
Shall I remove your boots, sir?
No. Sit down instead.
Well,
Let's have a little talk. Two men living under the same roof should discuss things occasionally. Take that chair, Giannis.
If you wish, sir. Thank you.
You're a man of some distinction. A publisher, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I was a publisher. In a small way.
I've noticed your books. They have unusual quality. We Germans admire culture in any country. May I pour you a little brandy?
Well, very kind of you, Major
Talks
Colt.
more easily with brandy. Here you are.
Well, thank you, sir. Your health, Major Galter.
And yours, Ilianos. You're a sensible fellow for a Greek. Tonight, I'm making my will.
Oh?
That is, remaking it. I have property, and in time of war, it's hard to handle such things.
Yes, there must be many new laws.
You're a very well-informed man, Ilianos.
In the publishing business, we pick up a good many odds and ends of information, sir.
You see, I have no family.
I didn't know.
No family. It may interest you to know how I am disposing of my modest fortune. You foreigners think of us Germans only as soldiers and world leaders. You forget what we have done for civilization. Philosophy, science, music.
Yes, indeed, sir. Germany has made a great contribution to the arts and sciences.
Music is what I love best. If things were to go badly the next few years, and our German musicians suffered hardship, it would be the end of music all over the world. Dead silence everywhere. Am I not right?
Certainly the world would be poorer without German music.
It is the only music. Therefore, my estate goes to a music school in Leipzig for scholarships and a pension fund. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, certainly, sir. And thank you for the brandy.
Nicholas, you were gone so long. Is anything wrong?
There's something I don't understand.
What?
He's just made a new will.
Well, what's peculiar about that?
Why, the pictures in his room. His family.
All Germans are vindictive. He's changed his mind. They've offended him.
Zoe, he's not a cruel man now. He's a sad man.
You think so?
Here's a glass of our hot spiced wine, Major. I thought you might enjoy it.
Nah, not very much. Taste of pitch. Nevertheless, thank you. Sit down.
Well, thank you.
I've just been reading an article by one of our great writers who explains with a wonderful German frankness that German defeat would be really German victory.
Well, how is that possible, sir?
It would intensify the spirit of the nation and increase the national aptitude for war.
A very interesting argument.
Absolutely conclusive. Like all of our German thinking. You see, we are so intelligent, we consider the most remote possibility, such as losing this present war. That surprises you, doesn't it?
I confess it does.
Mm-hmm. We're the only nation to think in great terms. That is why we will govern the world. Who else is equal to the task?
If I may suggest, sir, the Americans are able and wonderfully inventive, sir.
Ha! We have taken all their inventions and we have made something of them. What fools the Americans are. They are so generous and free and easy between wars.
America has been most generous to us Greeks.
Fools and their money. Why, in peacetime, they helped Germany. It's not sentiment. They think it is to their interest to do so. You see how weak you other nations are in your intellect? The Americans help us to prepare for the next war against them.
Must there be another war, Major?
War is the only way of life. Peace is a weak thing. Germany wants victory in due time, of course, but if this is not the time, we will have the future. There will always be another war, Ilianos. Forever and forever, history will give the Germans another chance. I hope you've learned something of our ideals from this talk.
I found it most stimulating, Major.
I'm a very lonely man these days. We Germans have great hearts and a capacity for suffering.
If there's anything we can do to make you more comfortable, sir.
Nothing. Don't put yourself out. It isn't necessary. Good night.
Good night, Major Calder.
Nicholas, you know I'm always nervous when you let the Major draw you into conversation.
My dear, I'm becoming his friend. It's a great step ahead. Why, he hasn't inspected the kitchen or checked on the food for 2 weeks. We're eating better, Zoe.
These Germans are very clever, Nicholas. They invite your confidences by pretending to give theirs. It's only pretending, darling.
This was real, I'm sure.
Oh.
Something's troubling him. There were tears in his eyes tonight. He's a very lonely man, Zoe.
Nicholas, you're more of a child than Alex and Lida.
Alex plays at war, and I play at being a philosopher superior to war. Is that it?
You're always ready to believe the best of everyone, dear. Never trust a German.
My sweet, stubborn wife. You don't think I always agree with the Major, do you?
No, I don't think that, but...
Well?
It's only that you're so absent-minded, dear. Sometime you won't think and you'll say the wrong thing.
Oh, I'm very careful, very discreet. And kindness always pays.
Never with a Nazi.
Gesture counts anyway. I think I'll take him in this cup of coffee for a nightcap. He seems so melancholy.
Nicholas, please don't talk anymore.
Oh, I promise. I'll just hand him the cup.
God's name, why must you come in here just now? I'm alone. I need to be alone.
Oh, forgive me, Major.
It's too late now. It's too late to stand on ceremony. Shut the door.
Yes, sir. I feel very badly.
I've talked too much already. Why did I take you into my confidence? What possessed me?
I'd better go back to the kitchen, sir. Or if you're ill, may I call a physician? If I can do something for you, sir.
No, it makes no difference. You're a good fellow, Ilianos, aren't you? Perhaps you're not. I don't know. I can't judge. The German officer loses confidence in his judgment of other men. It's the end of everything, isn't it? Sit down, Ilianos.
Thank you. But if I can
It's good to tell my trouble. Passes the time, the deadly time. You Greeks and the other foreign nations, that's your blasted conceit. You think all the suffering of war is on your side. It's not so. I told you I had to make a new will. This is what happened. Just before I returned home to Germany, my eldest son, who was a fighter pilot, crashed.
Oh, what a tragedy, sir.
Almost every family has to give a son for the fatherland. But while I was on my way home, my house in Königsberg was destroyed in an air raid. My wife was burned horribly.
And you suffered all this in silence, sir?
And after I got home, my youngest son was killed in Russia. A young boy, green soldier.
Your entire family?
For 3 days, my wife and her frightful bandages comforted me for the death of our sons. She restored my faith in the future. In Germany. 3 wonderful days. Then she died.
Sir, words cannot express. I cannot say.
You're a family man yourself. I knew you'd understand.
I do.
I'm so weary of this war. I can't fight anymore. I'm in hell. Hell on earth.
Oh, how intolerable it is. To think that 2 men with too much power should have brought all this tragedy upon us other men.
2 men? What do you mean, what 2 men?
I mean the Fuhrer and the Duce.
What? Why, you vile freak, how dare you? How dare you say a word against the Fuhrer?
Forgive
You stupid son
sir. Believe me.
Coward! Animal! And you! We'll pound it out of you! Nonsense! You'll not take a finger again! We'll fix you!
Oh, sir, forgive me. It was only I felt so grieved over your sorrow.
How can a filthy swine like you know my sorrow?
I overstepped, sir.
You poor rascally Greek. I thought you were more intelligent than the others. You know what comes next, I presume. I now telephone the military police to come here and take you in custody. You unfortunate woman, you. Your husband's under arrest. Go away.
Here, Nicholas Helianus, since you are to die in the morning, you are permitted 2 minutes private talk with your family. I will wait at 30 paces.
My darlings.
Nicholas.
Zoe, we have only a moment. It belongs to Alex. Alex, my son.
Yes, Father.
Your mother has been right all along. And I've been wrong. Terribly wrong. I'm paying for my cowardice.
No, you'll die a hero, Nicholas. Your father leaves you a name to be proud of, Alex.
It's no matter. Alex, tonight I want you to steal out of the house and make your way to the mountains. You know where our cousins Petrus and Georgis are.
Father, I would anyway tomorrow.
No, tonight. They'll think you wouldn't leave me.
Never trust a German, son. Remember it every moment. Least of all a sentimental German. A German who seems to have gone soft. It's a hard lesson. Learn it.
Hey, no.
Quickly. What is the lesson, Alex?
Never trust a German.
Tonight on Words at War, we've brought you a dramatization of Glenway Westcott's novel, Apartment in Athens. The radio dramatization was written by Phyllis Parker. In the cast, Wendell Holmes played Elianos, Peter Capell was Captain Coulter, Betty Kane was Zoe, Alex was played by Ronnie Liss, Leda was played by Gene Elkins. Words at War.
This is the story of a man of simple heart who went out and did something about freedom and justice and decency. He did not rest his foot on a rail and pound words into a mahogany bar. He clenched his indignant fists and moved in wrath against the forces of evil. Some people who knew Bill Donaldson, people in his hometown in Regina, Canada, others in England, they think of Bill as a boy who disgraced his family. But to those who have seen his soul as I have, he's one of the great unrecorded heroes of our time. A hero, despite the fact that he said,
"There's nothing else I can do. Believe me. I'm going to desert from the British Army."
I tell you, he was a hero, and you will see why when I have told you the story of my brother, Bill.
The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, presents another program in the widely discussed series Words at War. Many of the books dramatized on this program deal with issues which have stimulated considerable controversy. It is not the purpose of Words at War or the National Broadcasting Company to take sides on these issues, but merely to bring you the most representative books to come out of this great world conflict. Our story tonight is based on a portion of L.S.B. Shapiro's book, They Left the Back Door Open.
Mother always said that Bill was typical old country. My sister Betty and I had studied and worked to make a place for ourselves in the new world. But Bill still belonged to the crowded, poverty-stricken slums of Glasgow.
Well, there's all kinds has to be to make a world. And I'm one of the kind that's easy satisfied.
Ah, Bill. You're your father all over again. You're as old country as he was.
And is that bad?
Oh, here he goes again. Britain first and forever.
No, Bill.
That's a fine thing to say, Betty. Mocking the very country that gave you birth.
Oh, Bill, I was just joking.
Joking? Is England something to joke about, then? Or is it something to thank the Lord for every day of your life?
Yes, it was the only thing, really, that could make Bill's simple mind glow. To him, Britain was a religion. The empire was the greatest power for decency and freedom on the face of the earth. I suppose if the world had stopped spinning through the years, if it could have been riveted to one time, Bill would have been one of the happiest of men on his chosen level. But the world has a way of tearing loose from its moorings. And in 1935, a great poverty fell on the Canadian Northwest.
Big city, get to Lake City, 2,000 unemployed, demand jobs.
Hello, Billy. Any luck today?
No, Mum. Not a bloomin' thing at all. There's such a thing as a job about. I can't seem to find it.
Ah, well, a bit more time, and you're bound to hit some luck.
Don't think so, Mum. It's more than 6 months now. I've got to do something. Mum.
Aye?
I'm going to England. To the army.
To the army? Oh, no, Bill. There's no call for you to do that. John and Betty, they'll do for you. You know that.
It isn't that. John and Betty have treated me fine, but I've figured it out. And something else, too. It'll be a grand thing.
What, Billy?
Setting my foot on the soil of Britain. Something I've dreamt about all my life, Mum. To be in England and serve in His Majesty at one and the same time. Oh, Mum. Won't it be a grand thing?
We begged Bill to stay with us, but we couldn't answer his logic. A soldier's life offered security and a simple existence. Combine that with service to king and country, and you had the sum total of Bill's demands on life. So Bill worked his way to Liverpool and signed up for a 6-year hitch as a private in the British Army. Then an amazing development took place in Bill. His letters. They were startling, long and eloquent, detailing every moment of his new existence. He was like a child in a land of fantasy.
Dear Mom and Betty and John, well, what do you think? I'm on my first leave, and where do you think I am? London.
Well,
London?
What do you
Listen, did you ever dream that your Bill would get to see London? Well, I certainly never did. I got here 2 days ago.
with Alex Ransom, a buddy of mine. Would you believe it? I was so excited the first night I couldn't sleep at all. I sat up all night looking out the window and waiting for morning.
Hey, what are you doing out of bed, Bill?
Oh, nothing, Alex. Just can't sleep, that's all. I'm thinking of seeing London tomorrow.
Gone. What do you think you'll find? A circus?
No, but, well, all the things I've only seen in pictures, Alex. Waterloo Place, Nelson, the Palace, Westminster, and Oh, I can't sleep thinking of it. Makes you glad to be British, doesn't it?
It was the fulfillment of a dream for Bill. Viewing these London scenes, he felt a deep satisfaction, a sense of homecoming. A few months later, Bill closed one of his letters with an important announcement. You see, he had even developed a sense of climax in his writing.
And now that I'm just about to say goodbye in this letter, here's the news I've been saving till the very end. We've started training for India.
India?
Imagine Bill Donaldson going to India. What an empire. How grand it is to be British. Well, I'll tell you even more about it in my next letter, as ever, Bill.
Well, I guess Bill has found his niche in life at last. And it's a healthy life, too. A good life.
Ah, but there's two ways of looking at that, John. He's a soldier when all is said and done. He may have to fight someday, mayn't he?
Oh, nonsense, Mum. Bill'll no more have to fight than... Well, nobody wants war, do they, John?
No, Betty, nobody wants it, I guess, but...
And there won't be any either, thanks to Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Chamberlain. They're sensible men, really. They believe in settling things by diplomacy, not by force. Why, look at the Italian situation in Ethiopia.
Ah, Mr. Chamberlain does seem to be avoiding a fuss over that.
The seed of appeasement, so carefully nurtured in the halls of state, bore its flower in the summer of 1936. The date was July 20th.
Revolution in Spain. Read all about it. Hey, Franco, tax Republican government in...
I think those headlines must have escaped Bill's attention because he made no mention of them in his letters. He wrote of his training for India. And he mentioned one other thing, too. Lisa.
She's pale and thin, but she's neat and her hair is blonde, real blonde, and piled on top of her head.
Oh, now if that isn't Bill to the minute.
She's pale and thin, but she's neat.
And living on £1 a week. Oh, now I ask you, isn't it just as easy to fall in love with a substantial girl?
Oh, Mum, I'm sure Lisa's very nice, or Bill wouldn't have taken to her.
I was only joking, Betty. The poor creature. Imagine cooking and keeping house for 5 motherless children since she was 12, and saddled with a father who can't work. Isn't that terrible? What a burden for poor Bill.
However, that was only the beginning of Bill's trial. For in October, he wrote that Lisa had become seriously ill.
Lisa, does it hurt, Lisa, when you do that?
Not much, Bill. Really.
It tears at me every time. Listen, Lisa, I won't take no for an answer. The doctor says you've got to quit your job, and quit you will.
Bill, I can't. I've told you that. What'll happen to my father and the 5 kids? They'd starve for sure on the pittance the county allows.
Then we'll get married. That's what.
I want to tell you something, Bill. You're the grandest person I've ever known, and that's straight. But I can't let you marry me. I can't.
I'm not going to listen, that's all.
You've got to, Bill. Can't you see? I'd be nothing but a burden to you, sick the way I am. I've an infected lung, Bill. That's a bad, bad thing to have.
No, it's fiddlesticks, Lisa. That's what it is. If you quit the factory, you'll be well in no time. And it's in my mind to take you out of that place. We'll be married the next leave I get.
Bill's determination was brave but hopeless. Lisa died a few weeks later. With her body, Bill buried his tragic romance, but not his rancor at the conditions which throttled her life. He wrote bitterly of the drab burial.
Come away, son, and stop your grieving. He's a million times better off than us left behind to face this world.
Yes. Yes, let's go. It's going to be hard for you, sir, isn't it? What will you do now? With 5 little mites to feed. Nothing but the dole to do it on.
It can't be worse. No more than it has been.
But you've got to do something, man. Those kids will starve. Something's got to be done.
Full of fire, ain't you? I was too as a young'un. Well, you'd best get rid of it, son. It'll burn through your heart and consume your vitals. Burn right through you, just like it did me.
And I've sort of gotten over it now. Say, have you all been reading about the Spanish situation? I think it's a terrible thing.
It was in the early months of 1937 that Bill began to ponder in his simple, puzzled manner the plight of the Spanish people.
John, do you think maybe Bill's been meeting up with left-wing friends?
I don't think so, Betty. Or he would have mentioned it before.
It's just not right, that's all. Not fair. The Republican government was elected by the people of Spain. It was their government. What does this man Franco want? The justice of the thing seems all wrong to me.
Looking back at it now, I can see pretty clearly the link that explains Bill's disturbance over Spain. From his brief and tragic romance, from the pitiful condition of Lisa's family, an overtone still sounded in his mind. It made a kind of communion with the suffering of the Spanish people.
I think it's just a matter of time until Britain takes a hand in Spain. It's no more than England's duty, and you can bet she'll do her duty, just as she has every time in history. Franco has got to be stopped, and we're just the boys to do it. Anyway, I certainly hope we go to Spain instead of India, as ever Bill.
Now, what on earth has gotten into him?
Poor Bill. He's in for a big shock if he thinks we'll meddle in Spain. Yes, there was a deadly serious note to Bill's adoption of the Spanish cause, and he didn't keep it to himself as Mother hoped either. He wrote us a detailed account of an angry discussion he'd had with another soldier.
I tell you, it's just a matter of time. We'll never let Franco win.
What if we do? Mac, you're talking just like a communist. You're in the British Army, and what happens in Spain is none of your business, and don't you forget it.
Now, you listen. The British will never let them get away with a crime like that. Just you wait and see.
And am still training pretty hard for the trip to India. I suppose you read what a walloping the Loyalists gave Mussolini's boys at Guadalajara. Well, I've heard rumors that the Loyalists have been receiving secret aid from the British. It looks more than ever now that we may be sent to Spain.
I just can't understand it. The Loyalists are in the right. Everybody admits that. They're losing battles one after another. Why don't they send us over? The government must be asleep. That's what. We could save the Spaniards so easily, too.
Good heavens, listen. I sat up a lot of nights thinking about this. The British have always done their duty well. If the government doesn't see it that way, some of us who are British have got to make up for it. It is hard. It hurts me very much, but...
There is nothing else I can do. Believe me. I'm going to desert from the British Army.
Here, John. Right here, under this picture of Chamberlain.
The British Army announced today that they are seeking the arrest of William Donaldson of Regina, Canada, on charges of desertion to avoid foreign service.
Oh.
Good Lord. He's done it.
Oh, my poor Bill. Oh, what has got into him, John? Why should he want to go to Spain? What's it to do with him or Britain?
Tomorrow, I will be across the border. I know I'm doing the right thing. And I'm sorry if Mum feels I've brought shame to the family. Please, try and explain to her that I'm really fighting for Britain. And that someday she will understand. biding my time. You'll probably laugh if I tell you what I'm waiting for. A rifle. No kidding. They can't send me to the front until another man returns from the fighting with a rifle.
That was the last letter we ever received from Bill. We wrote again and again, but got no answer. Meanwhile, the fascist shadow broadened and lengthened over the olive groves of Spain. The Franco rack turned harder and harder, and the breath of resistance began to run out of the Spanish workers. Finally, human courage reached the limit of its endurance. And on March 28, 1939...
It just came over the radio, John. Franco has entered Madrid. Bill's side has lost.
We didn't know then whether Bill was alive or dead. There were thousands of loyalist prisoners in French and Spanish concentration camps. Our only hope was that Bill might be among them.
We regret to inform you that since your brother was not a member of the Mackenzie Papineau Division, no definite information about him is available. However, we will continue to make inquiries, and if we uncover anything...
By the fall of 1939, we began to adjust to the idea that we might never hear anything of Bill. We were a little distracted, too, by the ominous clouds rolling across Europe just then. When these clouds burst, they showered the bitter truth upon the people of Britain. It was the fruit of the Spanish tragedy, World War II. Then, one day late in 1940, while I was with the Canadian Army in England, I received a frantic letter from Betty.
I have news of Bill. The Mackenzie Papineau people wrote that he was wounded and in Spanish hospitals for many months. Mum is frantic, as you can imagine. You must try to find him.
I was stunned. I couldn't understand it. How could Bill be alive and not have written all this time? Where would I look for him? Whom should I ask?
Bill Donaldson? No, I'm afraid we've never heard of him.
No, can't say I ever heard the name before. I'm afraid Scotland Yard will be no help to you, Captain. There's very little we can do, not the way London is today. You might try the Friends of Republican Spain.
Bill Donaldson? Of course I knew him. He was one of our great fighters.
Was?
Yes, he died on the field at Aragon.
I wasn't too shocked by that. The hope I had was nothing but a flicker anyhow. Well, with my purpose knocked out from under me, I wandered aimlessly through the streets of London. Darkness was falling when I came across a queue of people shuffling into the underground shelters for the night. Then suddenly, the bombs fell almost simultaneously with the sirens. I flattened myself on the pavement. Then the shouts began to sound in the cowering night.
Fire on all guys!
As I looked around at the frightened figures racing through the dark night, heard the screams of pain, and watched the great fires, I was glad that Bill was not here to see it. Bill's Britain was no longer master of her destiny. I felt suddenly that Bill's fate was not entirely without pattern. This fearsome night completed the design. I scrambled to my feet and made for the shelter. Squeezed my way into the far end and found a foot of sitting space between a gaunt, fear-stricken woman and a one-legged young fellow. He picked up his crutch to make room for me.
Have a seat, Canada.
Thanks.
This your first raid?
Uh-huh. Does this happen every night in London?
They've been giving us a packet most every night for 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah. At least you'll be able to go after them. Makes you feel worse when you just have to sit around and take it. Hobbling on a crutch. They fixed me for fair.
Bombs?
No. Bullets.
France?
No. Spain.
Spain. Why, my brother fought there, too.
So? Mackenzie Papineau Division?
No, went over by himself.
Well, what's his name?
Bill Donaldson.
You're Bill Donaldson's brother? What do you know? What's he doing now?
Bill, he was killed.
Oh. That's rotten. Where? Here?
No, in Spain.
Bill Donaldson? Stocky little Canadian?
Yes.
Oh, I'd say the wires are crossed somewhere. Look, my friend, he was in a hospital in France with me, and he left for England before I did. Last I heard, he was living right here in London.
Well, tell me where, for heaven's sake. I was sure he was dead. Where can I find him?
I wouldn't know. Well, tell you what I'll do, though. You give me your name and the address of your station, I'll ask around among some of the fellows. If I find out where Bill is, I'll write you.
Week after week went by, but no word came from the one-legged stranger. Then, one day, I opened a letter. It was neither dated nor signed. It read, Bill Donaldson is living at 136 Strathcombe Street near the London docks. The handwriting was not Bill's. You can imagine the state of my nerves as the train raced to London. The waves of heat and cold that whipped over me as the taxi rolled slowly, painfully to the address near the docks. It was a gray, shabby two-story house. The landlady, short and shapeless, came to the door.
Mr. Donaldson's brother, is it? Well, now, isn't that nice?
His first name is Bill, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Bill Donaldson, that's him, and a very nice gentleman he is, too. He's not in at the moment, but if you care to wait, sir.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll wait. I sat there in the dimly lit parlor, and every one of those minutes had a weight tied to it. Whenever the doorbell rang, I jumped half out of my chair, then relaxed when it turned out to be the postman or the raid warden. Then the front door banged shut without the benefit of a ring.
Oh, Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, Mrs. May?
There's a visitor to see you in the parlor. I didn't know you had a brother here.
Brother? Well, let's have a look. Hello there. Were you looking for...
Bill? Bill, Oh.
I thought I heard her say something about a brother. There must be some mistake.
It's mine. My mistake. I was looking for a man named Bill Donaldson. I was told he lived here.
I am Bill Donaldson. And you are...
My name is John Donaldson. Bill was my brother. He was missing after the Spanish War, and I thought...
You thought I was he? I'm sorry. Really sorry. I know how you must feel.
Well, I'd better be going.
No, stay, please. I can't take away the disappointment you've had, but maybe I can make up for it a bit.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, I fought in Spain, too. I'd like to tell you some things about your brother that you probably don't know.
You knew him?
I'm happy to say I did. People were always getting us mixed up in Spain. Same name and both coming from Canada. In fact, I often lived in his reflected glory.
He did a good job, then.
One of the best. The Spaniards loved your brother very dearly. No matter what happened, the bad times, defeat after defeat, hunger, Bill was always cheerful, laughing all the time. And he hated the fascists. The weight must have been very deep and very strong inside him.
But do you know... what happened to him, finally?
Yes. And I'll be proud to tell you. It must have been around the middle of March in 39. You know what was happening to us in Spain then?
Yes?
We were done for, and we knew it. On one of the last days, the situation was really desperate. Death was all around us, and escape lay only across the French border. But we were hemmed in by a ring of fascist steel. There was hope in only one course. If a small force were to carry out a feinting action against the circle, just enough to distract the enemy, then the rest of us would be able to flee through the breach they made. Volunteers were called for, and Bill's whole section stepped forward. We had nothing to give them but a few grenades. Such paupers were we in the way of arms and ammunition. But Bill fashioned himself a club from the branch of a tree and gave the grenades to his men. Then in broad daylight, he led his section against the fascists. He was last seen, club in hand, advancing in a machine gun post. With a club, do you hear? A club against machine guns.
Good Lord.
Bill Donaldson died in a way that will never be forgotten. Not by the Spanish peasants. He is one with the blood of their hearts.
Don't send flowers. Bill's grave is unmarked, unknown, unrecorded. But there are monuments all around, if you want to say a prayer. In the might of Allied forces everywhere, in our ships and planes and guns, battling the enemy, the same enemy. They are all monuments to the common heart and courage of my brother, Bill Donaldson.
Tonight on Words at War, you heard a dramatization based on a portion of L.S.B. Shapiro's book, They Left the Back Door Open. The radio version was written by Edward Jurist. John Donaldson, the narrator, was played by Brent Sargent, and Paul Mann was Bill Donaldson. The music was arranged and played by William Meader, and the production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. To restate something we've said before, many of the books presented on Words at War deal with controversial issues, and it need hardly be pointed out that the views expressed in them are not necessarily the views of either Words at War or the National Broadcasting Company. Words at War is offered only in the spirit of furthering free discussion and thinking. Join us again next week for another important program. This series brought to you in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime by the National Broadcasting Company and the independent radio stations associated with the NBC network. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Yes, he had used up his chances. On the island of EA, before a burst of Jap machine gun fire, Ernie Pyle, America's best-loved war correspondent, died as so many American boys he'd written about. Ernie Pyle was killed in action.
The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, presents Words at War, dramatizing the most representative books to come out of this great world conflict. Our original schedule called for the presentation of another book, but the death of Ernie Pyle in the Pacific made his Brave Men the timeliest program we could bring you tonight. And so we bring you the stories Ernie Pyle wrote about the American fighting men, the songs they sang together and loved so well. Here, as a tribute to the little guy who held the love and affection of every American soldier he ever met, is Ernie Pyle's last book, entitled with his simple eloquence, Brave Men.
What is it like before battle? What do they think about? Well, they're afraid. But not afraid of the physical part of dying. That isn't the way it is. The emotion is rather one of almost desperate reluctance to give up the future. To give up such things as seeing the old lady again, of going on to college, of getting married, of holding on your knee just once the kid you've never seen, of becoming the champion salesman of your territory, of driving a coal truck around Kansas City once more. Yes, even of sitting in the sun again on the south side of a house in New Mexico. It's these little hopes
and ambitions for some bright tomorrow that makes up the sum total of the worry and anxiety in the hearts of the waiting men. I don't think you can ever fully understand the ties that grow between men who live savagely together, relentlessly communing with death. They're ties of great strength. There's a sense of fidelity to each other in a little corps of men who've endured so long and whose hope in the end can be so small.
Lieutenant.
Yes, Sergeant?
Well, I'm supposed to go back to rest camp tonight.
I know, Buck.
But we're due to attack tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Lieutenant, I don't think I'd better go. I'll stay if you need me.
Of course I need you, Buck. I always need you. But it's your turn, and I want you to go.
Well, I'd just as soon stay, sir.
I know, but you're going. That's an order, Buck.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can't leave my buddies. No, I can't leave my buddies. I'm a poor, lonesome cowboy and a long ways from home.
This was in Italy. Sergeant Buck, a cowboy from Idaho, came back to the little group of old-timers with whom I was standing. You'd have thought he was leaving forever.
Well, I guess I'll be going. Good luck to you all.
Thanks, Buck. Get yourself a good rest.
Yeah, I'll only be gone 5 days.
Sure. Oh, you'll be back before you know it.
Yeah, well, so long, everybody.
Bye, kid. So long, kid.
And, well, good luck.
Good luck to you,
Thanks,
Buck.
Thanks,
Buck.
Take me back to be near them. Take me back to be near them. I'm a poor, lonesome cowboy and a long ways from home.
It was drizzling and the valleys were swathed in a dismal mist. The artillery of both sides flashed and rumbled around the horizon. The encroaching darkness was heavy and foreboding. I walked with Buck to the waiting truck. He kept his eyes on the ground, and I think he might have cried if he'd known how.
Ernie.
Yeah, Buck?
This'll be the first battle I ever missed with this battalion.
Yeah.
I sure do wish 'em luck.
Well, they know that.
I feel like a deserter.
I went back and lay down on the ground with my other friends, waiting for the night orders to march. I lay there in the darkness, thinking, terribly touched by the great simple devotion of that soldier who was a cowboy. Thinking of the millions of people far away at home who would remain forever unaware of this feeling of the soldier for his comrades.
And you know what's the first thing I'm going to do when I get home?
What?
I'm going to fix it so my kid won't have to fight in the next war.
How are you going to do that?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, I'm going to take him up on a garage roof and put 10-pound weights in his hands and make him jump off. That ought to break down the arches.
Yeah.
Then I think I'll feed him a little ground glass every now and then to give him a bad stomach.
That ought to make him 4F all right.
Yeah, and I'll make him read by candlelight to ruin his eyes. When I get through with him, he'll be double 4F.
Joe, if I didn't know you so well, I'd say you don't like it over here.
Oh, you know me better than that. I just love this nice mud and that German artillery. Listen, if I ever get home, they'll have to catch me to bring me back again.
Go on, you'd be home a couple of weeks and read about us over here and remember these bull sessions? Why, you'd bust out bawling, you'd be so homesick.
Yeah, well, just give me the chance, that's all. Just give me the chance.
Oh, the guns, guns, and the pretty, pretty Huns. What a war, what a war. Oh, the guns, guns, and the pretty, pretty Huns. What a lovely, lovely war.
But they tell me that a lot of American soldiers who return to America do get homesick for the front. They get an itch for the old, miserable life, a disgusting, illogical yearning to be back again in a place they hated. I'm sure it's true, but I know a lot of soldiers who'd like a chance to put the theory to the test. Behind me is a distinguished and unbroken record for being sick in every country I ever visited. I'd been in Sicily 5 days when I decided to get sick and get it over with. Well, they established me in a clearing station and finally decided I had battlefield fever. You don't die of that. You just think you will. As I began to feel better, I became aware of the wounded and the dying men who were constantly being brought into the tent.
I feel okay. I think I'm going to make it, Doc.
Of course you will. You'll be all right.
Let me go. I can walk all right. Hey, the bed's here. Lord, how I want to go to bed.
Well, there's nothing wrong with me, Doc. You don't call this little scratch anything. Let me out of here.
We've got to take care of that wound, son. We're going to send you back to the hospital.
I don't want to go to any hospital. I want to get back to my outfit.
You wouldn't do your outfit any good right now, son. You go on to the hospital. I've got some good-looking nurses there.
I don't care about any nurses. I want to get back to where I belong,
Now,
sir.
take it easy, soldier. Take it easy. It was flabbergasting to me to lie there and hear wounded men cuss and beg to be sent right back into the fight. Of course, not all of them did that. It depended on the severity of their wounds and their individual personalities, just as it would in peacetime. But the main impression I got from all the wounded was their wonderful spirit and the thoughtful and attentive attitude of the men who cared for them. Well, eventually, after having indulged myself long enough to keep up my sick record, I got back to the front. Frontline conversation covers almost every topic in the world.
You know something? For $25, I'll eat a double-edged razor blade. Now, what you think of that?
I wouldn't give you 2 bits. You can't do it anyway.
Yeah, you just put up $25 and I'll show you, and I'll let you examine the inside of my mouth afterwards.
How do you do it?
I just chew them up.
I haven't got $25.
Well, you could all pitch in. Look, I'll take a double-edged razor blade, chew her all up, and swallow her down. Now, what you say?
Nah.
Can you really do it, Sam?
Sure I can, Ernie. I used to do it all the time before the war. I was offered a job in a carnival.
Was that so?
Hey, Ernie, how about you putting up $25?
No, Sam, I think I'll wait and see it for 2 bits at the carnival.
Oh, it's worth $25 to see a guy eat a double-edged blade.
Hey, I wonder if we'll ever get those galoshes they promised us. They've been promising us galoshes for a month.
What you want with galoshes?
To keep my feet dry. My feet haven't been dry for 6 weeks.
Take a drink of that lousy cognac they sell in Naples. That'll dry your socks before it hits bottom.
No kidding, though. I'd sure like some galoshes.
Oh, forget the galoshes, will you? That's all you talk about, galoshes.
Well, what's the matter? You got to talk about something. Anyway, it's not civilized to go around with your feet wet for 6 weeks.
What do you mean civilized? What's that? Back home, we thought we were civilized because we took a lot of baths. I haven't had a bath in 2 months, and I don't feel any different. Maybe people take too many baths anyway.
Maybe they do. I dreamed about baths. But when I got home, I'm almost ashamed to admit this, I didn't average more than 1 bath a week all the time I was there. Maybe what we're fighting for is the right to be as dirty as we please. Suits me.
It always rains in the infantry, but we never take a bath. I found a hunk of soap one day, but the dirt began to laugh.
I took a walk along the historic coast of Normandy after D-Day. It was a lovely day for strolling along the seashore. Men were sleeping on the sand, some of them sleeping forever. Men were floating in the water, but they didn't know they were in the water, for they were dead. You know, on that beach lay expended sufficient men and mechanism for a small war. And they were gone forever now. And yet we could afford it. We could afford it because we had our toehold.
Now we lie in the water with the tanks and the mortars. We're poor, lonesome soldiers, and a long ways from home.
There were soldiers' packs, socks, and shoe polish. Sewing kits, Bibles, letters from home, snapshots of wives and sweethearts staring up at you from the sand. Always there are dogs in every invasion. There was a dog on the beach now, still looking pitifully for his masters. He barked appealingly at every soldier who approached, trotting along, eagerly with him for a few feet, and then, sensing himself unwanted, he'd run back to wait in vain for his own people at his own empty boat.
Where the sand is our tombstone, where the water is our graveyard, where our bodies are like driftwood, we're a long ways from home.
The strong, swirling tides of the Normandy coastline shifted the contours of the sandy beach as they moved in and out. They carried soldiers' bodies out to sea, and later they returned them. They covered the heroes with sand, and then, in their whims, they uncovered them. I walked around what seemed to be a couple of pieces of driftwood sticking out of the sand. But they weren't driftwood. They were a soldier's 2 feet. The toes of his GI shoes pointed toward the land he'd come so far to see, and which he saw so briefly.
Why don't you tell him, Pyle? Why don't you tell him back home what it's really like? All they hear about is a lot of victories and glory stuff. They don't know that every time we advance, somebody gets killed. Why don't you tell them?
I told him that was what I tried to do all the time. You see, this soldier was fed up. His outfit had suffered heavy casualties. He was exhausted. He was filled with bitterness. Yet a few days' rest would take it all out of him. He didn't want any credit or glory for himself. He just wanted to be sure the folks at home realized that men were dying.
Some folks at home keep thinking of steak, while the bullets, they give us a bellyache.
Hey, Joe, look out! Don't step on it!
Oh, my gosh, a mine. Where? I don't see it.
It's not a mine.
Look, it's a little baby rabbit.
A rabbit?
Hey, don't ever do that again. I thought I was stepping on a mine. Oh, say, he's a cute little fella.
Yeah, he's cute. But look, Bill, don't ever do that again, see?
Yeah. Hey, this little fella's hungry. I'm going to take him back and get him some canned milk.
You better leave it here. You can't be toting a rabbit around with you.
Yeah, he's a cute little fella, isn't he?
Strange little things happened on the battlefield. Private Bill Westcott found a little rabbit. He fed it tenderly through an eyedropper. It was quite a little rabbit at that. It hopped around everywhere after Westcott, and when the distance got too far, it would go hopping back to the pup tent and snuggle up in Westcott's blanket. All the boys were crazy about it. Then, after about a week, we found the little rabbit dead on the grass. Private Westcott, whose own life was in the balance every day, felt awful bad about that little rabbit. It was raining heavily. We were all soaked through. We were on our way to clean out an enemy strong point. The young lieutenant kept barking his orders.
Spread it out now. Want to draw fire on yourselves? Come on, don't bunch up like that. 5 yards apart. Spread it out.
The men didn't talk among themselves. They just went. They weren't heroic figures as they moved forward a few seconds apart. There was a confused excitement and a grim anxiety in their faces.
Spread it out. Come on, spread it out.
They seemed terribly pathetic to me. They weren't warriors. They were American boys who, by mere chance of fate, had wound up with guns in their hands, sneaking up a death-laden street in a strange and shattered city in a faraway country in the driving rain. They were afraid, but it was beyond their power to quit. They had no choice.
Hey, Ernie,
in this doorway.
Right.
Hey, Ernie, where's your rifle?
The correspondents can't carry rifles. International law.
Yeah? Sounds like a silly law if you ask me. Hey, I used to read your column back in Cincinnati, Ernie.
You did? Yeah, we're pals then.
Ernie, could you put my name in? Well, I mean, the family would get a big kick out of it.
Sure. Let me get the name right. Here, you hold my helmet over the pad?
Sure.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Private First Class Arthur Schroeder. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah? Even with the bullets winding down the street, the soldiers were eager for me to get their names so that the folks back home would know they were in this. I ducked from one doorway to another, getting as many names as I could. Names of the actors in one little drama of the war along a rain-soaked street of a French village. Not much glory in the job they were doing. For as my favorite song and theirs puts it, they've got no time for glory in the infantry. They've got no use for praises loudly sung.
Oh, they've got no time for glory in the infantry. Oh, they've got no use for praises loudly sung. But in every soldier's heart in all the infantry shines the name of Roger Young. Caught in ambush lay a company of riflemen, just grenades against machine guns in the gloom. Caught in ambush till this one of 20 riflemen volunteered to meet his doom. Stood the man, Roger Young, fought and died for the men he marched among. Like the everlasting courage of the infantry was the courage of Private Roger Young. On the island of New Georgia in the Solomons stands a simple wooden cross alone to tell that beneath the silent coral of the Solomons sleeps a man remembered well.
No, they got no time for glory in the infantry. They'll settle for a mention in a guy's newspaper column just so the folks at home will know. Now, a final story. I've told you of the feeling soldiers who face death together have for one another. A feeling those who've stayed at home will never be able to comprehend. Well, this takes me back to Italy and to Captain Henry T. Wasco of Belton, Texas. I have never crossed the trail of any officer so beloved by the men under him.
After my father, he came next.
He always looked out for us. Always went to bat for us.
I never knew him to do anything unfair.
I was at the foot of the mule trail the night they brought Captain Wasco down. The moon was nearly full. You could see far up the mountain trail. Dead men had been coming down the trail all evening, lashed on the back of mules. They came lying belly down across the pack saddles, their heads hanging down on one side, and their stiffened legs sticking out awkwardly from the other. I don't know who the first one was. You feel small in the presence of dead men. You don't ask silly questions.
This one's Captain Wasco.
The unburdened mules moved off to their olive grove. The men in the road seemed reluctant to leave. They stood around. I could sense them moving one by one close to Captain Wasco's body. Not so much to look, I think, as to say something in finality to him and to themselves. I stood close by and I could hear.
Damn it, sir.
That's all he said. Damn it, sir, and he walked away. and another man came. I think he was an officer. He looked into the dead captain's face, and then he spoke to him as though he were alive. "Sorry, old man." And then a soldier came, and he stood beside the officer and bent over. And he said very tenderly,
"I sure am sorry, sir."
And then the first man squatted down and took the captain's hand. He sat there a full 5 minutes, looking into the dead captain's face. Finally, he put the hand down. He reached over and gently straightened the points of the captain's collar. And then he sort of rearranged the tattered edges of the uniform around the wound. And then he got up and walked away down the road in the moonlight, all alone.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe, and there's no sickness or toil or danger in that bright land to which I go.
Such is the powerful fraternity in this ghastly brotherhood. Something that only our fighting men will fully understand. Now, thousands of these men will be returning home before long. They'll be changed. They'll have to learn how to adjust themselves to peace. And all of us will have to learn how to reassemble our broken world into a pattern so firm and so fair that another great war cannot soon be possible. Tell the simple truth, most of us over in France don't pretend to know the right answer. All we can do is fumble and try once more. Try out of the memory of our anguish and be as tolerant of each other as we can.
He didn't want to go. He hated it. War sickened him and made him afraid. When he came back from Europe, he said that if he saw one more dead man, he feared he would lose his mind. He said this would be his last invasion. He probably meant it. But if he had lived, it wouldn't have been his last invasion. Because although Ernie Pyle freely confessed his fears and his horror of killing, he would go along with the American boys who had no choice but to go where they were ordered. Yes, he wrote his wife that this would be his last invasion. After this, he would write stories from headquarters. But no GI believes he would have done that. Ernie Pyle would have gone on as long as there was one American boy who had no choice but to go on. The GIs who loved him went out in the face of enemy fire to bring back the body of Ernie Pyle from the spot where he had fallen. And the GI fashioned a wooden coffin for Ernie and laid him beside his fellow fighting men. No need to write an epitaph for Ernie Pyle. It has been written by a GI on a crude wooden marker that stands over his grave on the desolate Isle of Ie near Okinawa. It reads simply, "At this spot, the 77th Infantry Division lost a buddy, Ernie Pyle, April 18th, 1945.
On the island of New Georgia, in the Solomons, stands a simple wooden cross, alone to tell that beneath the silent coral of the Solomons sleeps a man remembered well.
In tribute to the memory of America's best-loved war correspondent, Ernie Pyle, Words at War has presented a dramatization of his last book, Brave Men. The radio adaptation of Brave Men by Ernie Pyle was by Gerald Holland. Carl Swenson was heard as Ernie Pyle. Others in the cast were Martin Wolfson as narrator, Jim Bowles, Walter Kinsella, Paul Mann, Larry Haynes, Jeffrey Bryant, and Carl Emery. Our ballad singer was Tom Glazer. Organ music was by William Meader, production Garnet Garrison. Words at War is presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime. Next week at this same time, a dramatization of another important war book. This is the National Broadcasting Company.